15th. This is our regular board meeting. This is a meeting of the Board of Education and the public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. This is a time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. Mr. Bassler, can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. McIntosh.
Here.
Mrs. Lanehart.
Here.
Mr. Jewell.
Here.
Mrs. Miller.
Here.
And Mrs. Billy.
Here. Thank you. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any visitors' comments this evening? Not tonight. Mr. Bassler, can we have the treasurer's report, please?
Sure, thank you, Mrs. McIntosh. First thing, non-action item is an audit update. As I mentioned last board meeting, our annual financial audit has begun, and we're just progressing through that. They're not on site. We seem to be getting about every other day a list of information that we need to provide to our auditors. So still progressing through it. No surprises, nothing out of the ordinary so far. Everything looks good. Just a few different things with the pandemic and VLA and virtual learning last year. They're learning how to ask the questions, and we're learning how to interpret what those questions are to be able to give them the right information. So that's the only thing new so far, but like I said, no issues. Action items for the month. First, I need approval for the minutes from the last regularly scheduled board meeting, which was October 25th.
Do we have any discussion? Can I have roll call, please, Mr. Bassler?
Can I get a motion?
Oh, motion too. I'm getting through this. Basketball game's going on. Sorry about that. So moved.
Second.
Second, or first by Mrs. Milligan, second by Mrs. Miller.
Can I call the roll?
Now you can call the roll, Mr. Bassler.
Mrs. Milligan?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Jewell?
Yes.
Mrs. Lanehart? And Mrs. McIntosh?
Yes.
Next is a financial report, which is part of your packet. Again, just moving along month by month. No surprises. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the financial report because I'm going to talk a little bit more about finances in the next item. So if you don't have any questions about the regular day-to-day stuff, I'll need approval for the financial report.
Do we have any questions? Can I get a motion, please? First by Mrs. Lanehart, second by Mr. Jewell. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Lanehart?
Yes.
Mr. Jewell?
Yes.
Mrs. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
And Mrs. Milligan?
Yes.
Next is the 5-year forecast, which again was part of your packet. As you know, on a semi-annual basis in November and May, all school districts in the state of Ohio have to put together a 5-year forecast and file that with the Ohio Department of Education. So each May and November. I really don't like the fact that we have to do a 5-year projection because who in the world knows what's going to be going on that far in advance. I could probably make a lot more money doing something else rather than working in schools if I knew what was going on 3, 4, 5 years from now. But that's what we're tasked to do. So just real quick on the 5-year forecast, I won't spend a whole lot of time on it. I just want to hit a few of the high notes. As I've spoken to you before, beginning last year, we started deficit spending, which what deficit spending is pretty straightforward. We spend more than what we bring in. When we pass a levy, we have a finite amount of money, and that carries us for a period of time as our expenses continue to get a little bit more each year, especially when you're dealing with personnel being 80% or so of your expenses. Salaries and benefits continue to get more expensive each year, and that kind of eats into the amount of money that you have to spend. So on your 5-year forecast last year, we were in the red about $200,000. Projected for this year, in the red about $350,000, give or take a little bit. Is that concerning? In the short run, it's concerning, but not worth panicking over. We do have a nice carryover, so what that does is that continues to eat into our carryover year after year. So what we have to do is to try to do our best to be as fiscally as responsible as possible, as we do every year, but really need to buckle down and make sure that we balance the budget as best as we possibly can. If you look at the forecast, each year we are in the red, but collectively, through 5 years, we're in the black. So as we spend more each year, 5 years from now, we still have money left to operate the district. So when I say, is it concerning? It's concerning in the fact that we've started that process and we'll continue that process. It'd be very difficult without new money or some type of expenses that can go away, which typically doesn't happen. So, like I said, concerning, yes. Panic, no. At some point, we'll have to keep an eye on this from year to year, and as a board, be able to make financial decisions as this progresses. So, I hope that's not too confusing. I hope I've been pretty straightforward. If you have any questions about the 5-year forecast or anything that I've tried to describe here, more than happy to answer those. If not, I'll just need an approval for the 5-year forecast to file with the Ohio Department of Education.
Do we have any discussion? Can I get a motion, please? First by Mr. Jewell. Second by Mrs. Lanehart. Can I have a roll call, please, Mr. Bassler?
Mr. Jewell?
Yes.
Mrs. Lanehart?
Yes.
Mrs. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mrs. Milligan?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Thank you. That's my financial report for the month.
Thank you, Mr. Bassler. Dr. Bell, can we have your superintendent's report, please?
This is McIntosh. Non-action items, a couple things just to get you caught up to date. We are continuing to complete the punch list, and each day we get fewer and fewer people with fewer and fewer problems, so we at some point will get all the blue tape off the walls and we'll be ready to rock and roll and have everything done. Just a reminder that we did attend the OSBA Capital Conference. It was nice to be back in person this year. I thought the attendance was fairly good. The vendor fair was pretty good, and I think the breakout sessions could have been a little bit more varied, but there's still a good variety. You could get to what you need to get to, learn what you needed to do. Reminder of White Christmas coming up not the White Christmas that you guys are hoping for, but the musical White Christmas is being performed this weekend. Maybe that's what they're hoping for, because if you have White Christmas, that's good too. The 19th, 20th, and 21st, tickets can be online or at the door, but you can get reserved seating online. And then the other thing, building update to keep you informed, is the calendar committee. I was informed today that that's meetings tomorrow. Is that right, Ms. Lee?
Yes.
I guess I have some work to do between now and tomorrow's meeting. And like I said, we're looking at a 2-year calendar, give that to you at the organizational meeting, and then hopefully approve those 2 years at the regularly scheduled January meeting. So that's all that I have for the building at this time. Item 2 is compliance with nutritional standards. That is a report that Mrs. French puts together. It's an annual report that we have to have. She has to turn in every year prior to November 30th. Basically says that we're complying with all USDA regulations as far as nutrition, what we sell, what we don't sell, and that all the administrators are aware of what that is involved with. What I do want to say is with the food services department is that it's been great the last year and a half, although it's been extenuating circumstances for them with the free meals for our students. It's been awesome for all those, and our food service people continue to make money, which is, this may be one of the first districts I've been in where the food the nutrition services is not in the red, so they do a great job. However, with the free lunches that we do give out on a regular basis, the number of applicants for our free and reduced lunches is down. And they think, well, if I'm getting a free lunch, why do you need to fill out a report or fill out an application? But that impacts their reduction in educational fees. So if you are on free lunch, you also get your educational fees waived, and then that also impacts our Title I numbers and our Title I money. So we need to make sure that if you are eligible, you need to fill out those applications, and we will continue to get that information out to our community. So that's all that I have with our food services program. If you have any questions with that report that she sent out, Gail said she would be glad to come to the next year's meeting and talk to you about it, or you can call her personally too. Okay. Thank you. Action items we have. Item 1, general district business. We approved the first reading of the following policies. Attachment E, I won't read all those policy numbers. The majority of those were housekeeping. They had to get some language in compliance with some of the statutes and also make them a little bit more, I guess, user-friendly to read those and who was doing what. There was some money amounts that we did increase for limits for different programs. Nothing that impacts us financially, but just to be pretty much across the board statewide, what most school districts do. So if you have any questions on any of those board policies, our first reading, and then we'll approve them at next month's board meeting. So if you have any, and we did get rid of some policies that are no longer necessary, that are no longer impact us, and then we added 1 or 2 that also are mandated for us. So if I get you to approve that, I would appreciate that.
Do we have any discussion? Can I get a motion to approve? First by Mrs. Milligan. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mrs. Lanehart. Can I get roll call, please, Mr. Bassler?
Mrs. Milligan?
Yes.
Mrs. Lanehart?
Yes.
Mrs. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Jewell?
Yes.
Thank you. And second item under action items is supplemental resignation. Accept the resignation of Carrie Branson as teacher leader.
Do we have any discussion? Can I get a motion to approve the resignation? First by Mr. Jewell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Milligan. Can I get roll call, please, Mr. Bassler?
Mr. Jewell?
Yes.
Mrs. Milligan?
Yes.
Mrs. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mrs. Lanehart?
Yes.
And Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Thank you very much. That's all that I have for tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Bell. This brings us to the Board of Education reports, the legislative report. There's nothing new to report right now. There's still the same stuff just being discussed and revised throughout the House and the Senate as well. Mrs. Lanehart, Miami Valley CTC.
CTC met on October 12th, or November 12th, I'm sorry, on regular meeting at 7 p.m.
Do we have any old business? Do we have any new business?
Just do a couple things. One, just remind people that the December board meeting has been moved up because of break, and it will be on December 13th. And then also wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Anyone else? Okay, well, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting, please? First by Mr. Jewell. Can I get a second? Second by Mrs. Lanehart. Can I get roll call, please, Mr. Bassler?
Mr. Jewell?
Yes.
Mrs. Lanehart?
Yes.
Mrs. Milligan?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. McIntosh?
Yes.
Time of adjournment is 6:15.
6:15. Thank you.